Okay, so we are live, but not live. The replay crew will probably see this. So hello to anyone who is watching later. Thank you for watching now. If you couldn't make it live, I'm going to wait a second until this actually shows up. This is always the fun part when you're like, hello.
Is it?
Okay, we're live. Yay. Hi, everybody. So I am here, very exciting, with Victoria. We have been gushing about Ben Platt because, funnily enough, I was watching Victoria's stories and she had posted that she was at the latest Ben Platt concert in New York. You said you went and saw him. Mm-hmm. And she had posted about it and I was like, oh my God, I love Ben Platt. And it reminded me that I knew that he was coming near me soon. And I had been wanting to go with my best friends because we are all obsessed with Ben and you're obsessed with him. And so is your mom. And I love that because I'm actually going with my daughter because my friends that I was going to go with, they're going to be out of town. So I'm like, who can I make go with me? I'm like, who else knows? And I was like, my freaking kid. They're so used to, like, they love all the entire Dear Evan Hansen soundtrack, his new albums. They're used to hearing it in the car on the way to school. So I'm bringing Rory with me. It'll be her first concert.
Oh, I love that.
I'm like, you're welcome.
How old is Rory?
She's 10.
10, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So cool.
Yeah. So I'm like, you're welcome, Rory. This will be an amazing first concert. Good luck topping it, hearing a Broadway singer. What's up, Tori?
Ben Platt is such a good first concert, though. Mm-hmm. And there's always like such a large range of people at his concerts. So like we had somebody who was behind us who was so young, very like probably in middle school with their parents. And then the people next to us were like, had to be in their 70s. So
really? I love that.
Large group of whoever wants to be there. Anyone.
What was the vibe? Was the vibe very joyful? It feels like he would have a pretty joyful audience.
Absolutely. A lot of like LGBT supporters and everything. Mm-hmm. So you could like tell that everyone was like really vibing. I mean, especially in New York, people were just
oh, I bet.
Time.
Yes.
Very tolerant people.
I love that. I love that. And I've noticed that anytime I've like gone to concerts and stuff, you can tell a vibe from an audience. Like there's certain, and you know, I've been to a very wide range of music concerts and everything. And I have a feeling that Ben's audience is going to be pretty great. Cooking dinner. Thanks for hanging out with us while you're cooking, Tori. All right. So we are going to start with an introduction. So if you want to introduce yourself, your channel name, where everyone can find you, because you know, just in case you don't already know who Victoria is, I've talked about her quite a few times on my channel, but in case you don't already know who she is, I'd like to introduce you to her and all her information is linked down below.
Okay. Hello, my name is Victoria. My channel is called Victoria's Romance Reads. I am on YouTube and in my Instagram stories.
I know.
Really post on Instagram, but I post in my Instagram stories a lot. So those are the two places, and then Goodreads. When I remember to like update, it'll just like all of a sudden be like, oh, Victoria's read like these 6 books. I remember to go back and like add the dates.
That's hard. You remember when you read that?
Well, I'm more like general idea.
General, yeah. Vaguely read this
so that they count towards my goal. But those are the two most places is YouTube and Instagram stories specifically. Don't come to my
feed
Instagram thinking that you're going to see me post pictures. Real.
I mean, it's not like Instagram likes pictures anyway, so it's fine.
I am not making reels.
I know. I can't do it. I'm too awkward. All right. So tell us about your Booktube and your Bookstagram origin story. So how did you start your accounts and why?
Okay. So I started my Booktube and my Bookstagram around the same time, actually. It was during the pandemic, both of them in 2020. My Instagram, I started in like August-ish. And my YouTube, I started in November, technically, because I was depressed. That is why I started. It was 2020. I was supposed to have just graduated college, and I had no college graduation, no entering the workforce. Everything was shut down. So I was
oh my gosh, what a time to graduate college, man.
So I did nothing. And at the same time, my family, we were renting our house. And so the people who we were renting from wanted to sell their house in the middle of the pandemic. So we had to move out, but there were no places to rent because all the people were moving to my town because I live right outside New York City. And so people were like fleeing the city. So we didn't have a house for a while. But so I started my YouTube channel and then immediately had to stop because we didn't have a house. And so I had to go live at my grandparents' house for like 3 months while all of our stuff was in storage while we waited for a house. So then I technically didn't start actually posting consistent YouTube videos until like June.
I feel like that's pretty typical. I know I kind of did the same thing, especially when you're not seeing a lot of growth at first. You're just like, it doesn't matter, what's the point? I love watching your videos.
Thank you.
I know, she makes me smile too.
So it was basically just like escape from what was actually going on.
And gives you purpose a little bit, like having.
Well, I have a degree in media production, and so I was like, I'm not doing anything that I just graduated college for. So I already knew how to edit video, and I already had the camera and everything. So.
Oh, that's nice that you had the camera and stuff.
I was like, I know how to do all of this stuff. This is stuff that I just did in college. So I figured might as well like use these skills before I forget how to do them.
Well, and then software is always changing. Like I went to school for graphic design, and software is consistently changing. So if you're not keeping up with it and you're not doing it consistently, like by the time you get into the workforce, like it'll have completely changed.
So it was a bit of a switch to go from like my college, which was like Adobe Premiere and like had all the like fancy stuff, to being like iMovie because I'm poor, but
I like iMovie better. Like it's just so visually easier. The computer runs it easier. Yeah.
So that's why I started, and here we are.
All right. What type of content do you make for your booktube?
I do a lot of like trope recommendation videos. They tend to do the best on my channel, and I think that they are easy to do, where I can like discuss the book for quite a long time. So I'll only have like 5-ish books in each of my recommendation videos, so that I can, because I talk a lot, so I can like actually say like my full like thoughts and like, here, this is why I think you should read it. So I like making them because it's like an easy organized way of like, here's these books that I like. And then I do some vlogs occasionally, but they don't do as well on my channels. So
vlogs don't do as well. I enjoy them the most though, but I think it's because I love watching my friends' vlogs, because I like being nosy and peeking into your life.
Yeah. I like watching them, but they're hard to make. But I do the occasional vlog, and I'll do it just like I do a lot of recommendation videos.
Yeah, and you do like a wide range of recommendation videos. So do you have a playlist of all your rec videos, all the tropes and stuff? Okay. Yeah, so definitely check out her channel. Like I said, everything's linked down below. What do you do for a living?
Well, like I said, I graduated in 2020 and the world was shut down, and the world is still making its way to getting fully back. The employment rate is still very low. But I currently work part-time at a architecture company that is actually my dad's architecture company. He owns it. But I do office. I am his office manager.
Oh, that's cool.
For his architecture firm. So I do like payroll and organization, and I draft invoices to clients, and I deal with a lot of numbers, spreadsheets, stuff like that.
I did a lot of that too. Yeah, when I was just out of college, actually while I was in college and then when I was just out of college, I actually worked at a medical supply company, but I did like all of the billing and all of that stuff for it.
Employees. Yeah. That's what I do.
What did you want to do growing up?
I didn't know. I still don't know. When I was younger, I remember sitting around in a circle in my like 4th or 5th grade class, and our teacher would be like, what do you all want to be when you grow up? And I would like strategically place myself so that I was not the first one to be there, so I could listen to what other people said and then just copy someone. I don't know. And then the worst part is that a lot of people, when you're that age, people are like, I love animals. And so a lot of people would say like vet.
Yeah.
And so I would be like, I want to be a vet too. But I was like deathly afraid of dogs at that point. So I would have never been a vet.
I love that. You sound like my daughter. That's 100% something my child would do.
Yeah, it was so embarrassing. But it's very much, yeah, I still have no idea, and I didn't at the time.
The huge best knowing what to do. Yes, that's because I think this is something that keeps people from doing it, is that they're like, I don't know how to edit video, like all of the technical stuff. So it's really nice. And you had some equipment too.
It was an easier push for me because I already was like, and I had watched Booktube for so long. But iMovie is very user-friendly, so don't let that stop you if it's something that you do want to do. Canva also for like making thumbnails. Everything is very user-friendly, and nobody will fault you for learning as you go.
Exactly. And you can also practice too, and that helps you get used to talking to a camera and stuff. Just practice, and you can upload it but not make it live. And then once you start feeling comfortable, then you can make them live or refilm or whatever you want to do. But
I had to fully adjust to being in front of the camera. That was something that I had never done in school. Like I was never in front of the camera. So I fully like made videos, edited them, and then like deleted them.
Right.
So I could like wait and like actually like, I'm like, I look too awkward in this one. I gotta do it.
You have to get used to seeing yourself. It's very weird to like see yourself.
Hearing my voice as I edited, that was something that I was like, oh. Sometimes when I like bulk edit my videos, I'm like, I can't listen to my own voice anymore.
I love it.
Why did you say it that way? It would have been so much easier if you said it this way.
I know. I think of like brilliant ways to word things and describe things later, and I'm like, gosh darn it.
I would have sounded so much smarter if I had said this.
I'm glad I'm not alone. On Booktube during the pandemic too. You had a COVID baby.
Wow.
Oh man, and a tricky pregnancy. Learning about spice. I love it. I love that. It's great. Okay. What is the very first thing you typically do in the morning and the very last thing you do at night?
Last thing I do at night is read. I am always listening to an audiobook before I go to sleep. And then the first thing I will do in the morning is check the time and snooze my alarm. And then I will eventually stop snoozing the alarm and go on Instagram.
You know what? I'm trying to think of because I'm always immediately picking up my phone, and I think Instagram's the first place I go to.
You always do Instagram first.
Yeah. What's your favorite restaurant and your go-to order there?
See, this is difficult because I have a restrictive diet now, like you do. And so it can be very difficult because a lot of my like favorite restaurants, I can't eat anything there anymore.
You have all my sympathy and all my empathy.
So it took a very long time. I also live on this weird like border edge of like two towns. So I live very far from the town center of the town I actually live in. So a lot of the restaurants won't deliver to me in the town I actually live in, which is scary. But the town that's next to me, they will sometimes deliver. It's very weird. So I usually, if I'm like at home and I'm like, I need to not make my own food, I will get Asian food. And I will just ignore the fact it's gluten-free. And I will often get pork fried rice with no onions because I can't eat onions. And I will get pork ribs, and I will get dumplings.
Oh my God. The way my soul misses dumplings, like I can't even tell you. I need to find some sort of like gluten-free paleo dumpling recipe because I miss dumplings.
It's the best that I got for food that I can order where it's like almost to the point of like everything's good.
Well, I mean, like my doctor had told me, she was like 80-20, like 80% of the time eat really, really well, stay on that diet, but 20% of the time, like and for so long I was so scared to go off of my diet. So like for a good 2 years, I did not cheat a single day. Wow. Lately, I've been a little bit more relaxed, but not like to the point, like I still don't eat gluten or sugar or dairy unless the dairy is like a very like high quality dairy, like grass fed and all that stuff. But yeah, I've like slowly been finding, like I had a Panera salad for the first time in a long time without like only getting just the lettuce. And that's the thing, like when you have a restrictive diet, it's hard because it's like, okay, I could just cook something instead of paying $1 million for having just like vegetables and like a piece of meat with no seasoning.
That's the thing with mine. My restrictive diet is very based off of a trial and error of what my body actually does. So it's not any sort of like paleo or something that like you can like, put a name to. So if I'm like talking to someone, I'm like, oh, I'm on a restrictive diet. And they're like, oh, is it this diet? Is it this diet? Is it this diet? And I'm like, it's none of those. It's my own that I've actually had to like find through trial and error of like what actually
works or doesn't,
hurts me and doesn't hurt me. And so one of the things, my body is ridiculous, but one of the things that my body does not do right is vegetables. There are a lot of vegetables that I can't eat. And so a lot of things that are vegan or vegetarian, I can't eat them because they're made out of vegetables that I can't eat. So like, for example, a lot of gluten-free things are made out of cauliflower.
You can't have cauliflower.
And I can't eat either of those things.
Yeah.
So it's like a very like, oh, if I get this and I get this thing, then that's only one small thing that doesn't really like, it won't be that bad. So
and you really have to wait, because I say I'm paleo, but I like there are certain things that I can't eat and can't eat. So I just say paleo because it's easier to and like to search for things. But yeah, I understand. And I fully understand how difficult it is to go through the process of like figuring out what works and what doesn't. You really have to pay attention to your body.
My family will be like, let's go to this restaurant. And I'll be like, let me check the menu and see if I can find one thing that I can eat.
And then you're that person that's like, but can I have it without this, with this, without that, with that? What oil do you cook it in? And
which is, it's so hard because I used to be the person that would be like, this is fine. Where it's just like, they got it wrong, but I'll just be like, I don't want to talk to anyone. And now I need to be like, well, actually, I ordered it this way, and I need you to not just take it off. I need you to redo it.
Yes. I hate being that person, but I'm like, ooh, it's
I'm like, sorry.
I know. Have you always been an audiobook lover?
So no, actually. I didn't like audiobooks for a long time, and I didn't read any audiobooks for a really long time. And then when I was in my senior year of college, I actually got back into reading in my senior year of college because my freshman through my junior year of college, I didn't read for pleasure like at all because I was very busy. College is busy and hard. So my senior year of college, I got more into it again. And I found that I struggled to read. It was getting really difficult. And I noticed it before when I was reading for like school also, because I was in a lot of sociology classes. And so I was reading like 30, 40 pages of sociological text per night that had been like photocopied and had like this big margins and the text was this big. And I was struggling to read it, and I was like, oh, it must be an eye thing. I have to go to the eye doctor, that kind of thing. I was like, I'll just ignore it. So
like we do.
So when I got back into reading, I noticed that I had struggled with it as well. And I ended up searching for audiobooks because it was my only way that I could actually read without getting horrible migraines, because I had been diagnosed with chronic migraines, which I now know aren't chronic migraines. But at the time, that's what I thought that they were. And so with that, I was like, oh, if I want to read anything, I need to do it with an audiobook. And I had just gotten back into reading. So I was like, I want to read again. I want to, I can't. So I was like, okay, let's try audiobooks. And I kept having to like up it and going down with the speed and everything.
Yeah, figuring out the speed helps.
It was very trial and error again. But
one thing I would recommend, and what I did when I first started listening to audiobooks like years and years ago, was I was only rereading audiobooks. Like it was hard for me to read a new book via audio. So maybe that's how you can start. Find a book that you love, find it on audio, and start that way. Start slow. You can play with the speed. Like Victoria
also, I would find like specific narrators that you like, and if you don't like the narrator, just stop and go for it. Yeah, like do based on like narrators that you like. And I found that when there was a narrator that I liked, I was much more interested in listening to it. But when there was like a voice where I was just like, you're not that interesting, you're not keeping my attention, then I wasn't as invested in it. So find a narrator that you like. There are a whole bunch that I'm
that really helps.
But
a good place to be. Oh my gosh, it is like when you've been restricted. Like when you've been having a restricted diet for a while and then you have something for the first time or something similar, like an alternative to it, it's like it's a revelation.
I had a piece of cheese like a week and a half ago for the first time in like a year and a half. It was magical. I was like, wow.
When I finally discovered a cheese that was okay because it's like super high quality cheese, it was the best thing of my life. Like
I was so excited.
I can't even tell you.
Look at this cheese. I'm eating cheese. It was like a whole thing with my mom. I was like, Mom, look at I'm eating cheese.
Yes, I love it. Yep, gluten-free. Gotta love it. I see you're much more relaxed and personality shines.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, my love. I know it takes a little while to really like get comfortable with yourself and like talking to yourself. It's so awkward. Like if you really think about, we're literally sitting in front of a camera by ourselves, just talking.
I also had to do like with different days of filming. If I'm not in the right mood to film, it will very much show through on the camera where I will just like not sound as excited or as like happy, and I won't like talk about the book as much. So I tend to now bulk film on the days where I'm like, I'm in the mood to film, I'm excited to film, and I'll do like more videos on those so that it'll be easier to do that rather than just like trying to force myself to be in a filming mood because I know that I wanted to post a video, but I'm just like not in the mood to sit and talk to my camera.
That's a good idea because there are days when like it's harder for me to talk because I just like I'm either tired or in the middle of a flare up or I'm just getting into audiobooks too, and the narrators. They make or break it. I'm telling you. Okay, go into your music app and tell me your most played songs recently.
Okay. Spotify. Okay, so my on repeat says My Play by AJR, Boyfriend by Dove Cameron.
I love that freaking song.
And Late Night Talking by Harry Styles are the top.
That's a good. So go ahead and start your Victoria playlists now. Speaking of the Victoria playlist, okay, so one of each: song you'd sing at karaoke, song that gets you motivated, song that makes you cry, song that gives you butterflies, and a song that will get you on the dance floor.
Of all of the questions that you're like, oh, I have some hard questions. No, of all the questions, this is this one that I've been thinking about the most, where I'm like, I could do this for like every artist that I listen to,
I know.
Like each song. So it's so hard to just choose one.
I know. It's like books too. It's hard to choose just one.
Okay, for karaoke, I would probably do an ABBA song, like Mamma Mia or Dancing Queen, something like that, which I've sung at karaoke before.
Yes.
When I did a study abroad in Ireland when I was in college, where I lived in Ireland for 6 months, and there was a bar on campus at the school that I went to in Ireland, and if you on like one specific night, I think it was like Mondays, if you did karaoke, you got a free drink token.
Oh, so you're like, let me get up there.
So we would just do karaoke repeatedly and get free drinks.
That's fantastic.
That was the first time I'd ever done karaoke, and I have done karaoke multiple times.
Did you do it by yourself the first time?
The first time I didn't, but by like the third time, I'm like, yes, let's go.
So did you sing an ABBA song the first time?
You
did? That's great.
Dancing Queen, I think, as like a big group.
I love it.
It was great. And
so
then
motivated.
A song that gets motivated. I'm going to go with Like a Girl by Lizzo.
Oh my gosh, yes. Yes. This is a great motivating one.
Lizzo is just really good for motivation. I feel like of all of the ones, I could do Lizzo. Okay, a song that makes me cry is "In Case You Don't Live Forever" by Ben.
Oh my God, stop that song. You're right.
Yeah. Every time I cry, every time I hear it.
I skip over it because it's too like songs that make me cry that much. Yeah.
If I skip over it in the car, I'm like gonna be sobbing while I'm crying. Yeah, it's one of the only songs that will make me cry. I'm not usually like a very emotional person with kind of things like that. So there are very like few books that make me cry. I never cry watching movies or anything like that, but that song always makes me cry. So.
Yeah.
It's a good song that gives you butterflies. There's a song that every time I hear it that I get very like, I don't know how, it's like it gives you like lots of feelings. And I think for that one, it's an Evening I Will Not Forget by Dermot Kennedy. I don't know if you've ever heard.
I've never heard it. I'm gonna have to look it up.
Dermot Kennedy is a Irish singer. He's become more popular in America, and I absolutely love him. I love him. He's one of my favorite singers. And there's a part in An Evening I Will Not Forget that I always get really like emotional or like feeling a lot of feelings when I hear it.
I'm going to be messaging you later, very likely when I forget that name and go to look it up.
Absolutely. And then a song that will get me on the dance floor, any of them, anyone. It will not take that. It will not be that difficult.
Does it take much?
Not that difficult. Early 2000s pop, 90s rock, whatever you want, pop punk, whatever you got for me.
Yes.
Any 80s song, I'm there. I'm ready.
I feel like you and I have similar music taste.
I have very eclectic music taste, so thank you. I want to see Dermot Kennedy in concert so badly, but when I was in Ireland, he was in America, and then when I came back to America, he was in Ireland. I was so mad.
Oh my God, what are the odds?
I had tickets in 2020. It was canceled.
Ouch.
I was so upset. But I still haven't seen. He's on tour with Shawn Mendes right now.
Are you kidding?
Yeah.
Oh, so because Shawn had to cancel.
Yeah. So he was opening for Shawn Mendes. And
I
was supposed to go to see the one that they canceled when they finally decided to
cancel. Of course. You have not lucked out very much with concerts.
Dermot Kennedy does not want to see me.
It's not meant to be, I guess. All right. Podcasts. Do you listen to podcasts?
No.
You don't? Okay, we'll skip this one. All right. YouTube watch history. Last 5 videos.
YouTube.
It's okay.
Like I said, very eclectic music taste. I've been to everything from classical to screamo. Okay, so my most recently watched video is 10 Romances You Need to Read Before the End of 2022 from Rachel Reads and Sings.
Love it.
Best books I read in September plus life update from 11 Words. Fall romance recommendations from Jess from Peace Love Books. And then I watched your Lisa interview after it was aired.
Okay.
And then I watched 2 blind auditions from The Voice that my mom.
I love it. I've never watched The Voice, but I watched some of the little clips from it.
Yeah.
Smith and Tell, I have not.
I've never heard of that.
I have to look it up. All right. Last text message you sent. You can give context or you don't have to give context if you don't want to.
The last text message that I sent was, I can email it to you. It was to my father.
Was it work related?
Asking about tax forms.
Oh, so interesting.
I know.
The tea.
Not that exciting.
Last thing you Googled.
So you just go to Google and click on it, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think you click on it and it should come up.
Google.com. When was the last time I had to actually like type google.com?
I know. Usually it's the homepage, right?
Okay. So the last thing that I Googled was Katona to Grand Central train schedule. Not exciting.
Where were you going?
Lizzo concert on Sunday, and I had to take the train into Grand Central to find the thing. And then the last thing before that was picture Jodie Comer, the actress. I was looking for a picture of the actress Jodie Comer. My best friend from college was visiting me this weekend. And she didn't know who Jodie Comer was. And I was like, how can you not? And I was trying to rectify her who she was, what she looked like. I was like, she's from Killing Eve. And she's like, I've never seen Killing Eve. So I had to show her a picture.
I love this. All right, JMO. Do you know what a JMO is?
I had never heard of it until I watched your interview.
I'm pretty sure my sister and I made up JMO. Like, not, I mean, people have had the Just Me or Everyone's, but I think only her and I must call it JMO because no one knows how to talk about it.
I like it. It's a cute acronym.
Yeah, so for those who don't know, it's a Just Me or Everyone. So it's something that you're like, is it just me that thinks this, or does everybody think this? So do you have one?
So I will do this thing where when I get really excited about something, I will like say it out, I'll be like, wow. And then I'll like look around to see if somebody wants to share in my excitement, and then nobody will be there. Or I'll do it like out in public and people will be like staring at me being like, oh, what is this person talking about?
Are you expecting someone like random to ask you?
No, I just expect somebody like to be there to share in my enjoyment for something. I don't know. I'm just like, wow. And then I'm like looking and then I'm like, oh,
anybody?
Nobody's there to talk to about my like really excitement. So like it'll happen while I'm like reading books. If I'm reading like a fantasy book and there's like a twist and I like guessed the twist and I'll be like really excited and I'll be like, wow. And then I'm like looking around, just like, nobody's here to share in my excitement.
I love that for you. I mean, you know what? I exclaim things while I read. I feel like I verbalize things more than I think I do, because sometimes I'll catch myself after the fact, not realizing I actually said something. I'm like, oh my God, it's so embarrassing.
I'll just be like, wow, that's so cool. I did it. And then I'm just like, somebody want to be excited for me? No.
High five, anybody?
So if I'm in public, people will be like, what are you doing? And if I'm at home, it'll just be embarrassing of the fact that like I'm all alone. Nobody else is there.
I love it. Can you show us the last photo you took on your phone?
So the last picture that I took was at the Lizzo concert.
Oh my gosh, that's a great last picture.
So the big version of Lizzo is the big screen that was behind her, and then you can see Lizzo is right there. It's so small.
It seems like you had decent seats though, considering, because usually they're
like
this big in pictures.
Yeah, we were on the floor.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and then the last one before that is this picture of my cat.
Aw, beautiful. Love it. What's the best advice you've ever been given, or that you've given someone else, or both?
In college, I took a lot of women's and gender studies and sociology classes. It was stuff that I found really interesting. And one of my professors, who I connected with a lot, we ended up really getting along, and like she would like email me and be like, make sure you sign up for my office hours so that we can chat. And we would have these like really long discussions, and she was my professor, and she was my professor for multiple classes. Mm-hmm. And she taught sociology, and she would tell us this thing where she would say, like, remember to just listen sometimes, where it was like, a lot of people, when you're having a conversation with somebody, or especially in the context of sociology or women's and gender studies or politics or something like that, where you don't understand or necessarily agree with somebody, people will often like jump in and try and like, I'm going to tell my side. I want to like disagree with you. Mm-hmm. But you should remember to just listen and remember to hear actually out what they have to say, so that you can actually understand where they're coming from, so that if you do want to like refute them, you can have actually a conversation which 9 times out of 10 is going to be so much more rewarding and actually have the possibility of changing their mind, rather than just like jumping down their throat and be like, oh, you're wrong. And actually having the space to give them the space to actually say their piece before stating yours, and rather than just cutting them off and being like, no, you're wrong.
Oh, I love that. And I have to say, like, first of all, I love that. And I also love, like, it's almost like saying, don't wait for your turn to talk. Like, just actually listen, absorb, process, and then come back. And you'll probably come back with a smarter response. But I was going to tell you that my best friend was my professor in college, because we had a relationship like that. And so she was my professor in college for a few classes as well. And then when I graduated, she was kind of like a mentor and helped me get my first job and stuff. And then we've been best friends for like over a decade now. And
love that.
That's awesome.
Amazing. That's amazing. Yeah, I wasn't even a sociology major. I was a minor. And we just connected so much, and I love her. She's amazing. And I still reach out to her. We'll talk over email and occasionally and stuff. So
I love
just
that.
to see how she's doing and everything. But it was great.
It is great advice. I agree.
And a lot of times when you're having a conversation like that, when you already know you disagree with somebody, you'll think about what your argument will be while they're talking. And you're not listening to what they're saying. And
you'll probably put words in their mouth too, expecting them to say something. So you automatically, And I say that out of someone who has done that before. So
I've absolutely done that before.
All right. Do you have a bag nearby, and what is in it? Yes. Oh, cute.
I got it on Amazon for like $15.
I love that. That's a good concert bag too. Is that small enough to go into a venue?
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
All I need. And it has like 3 pockets. And then
I was going to say.
Put my phone in this pocket. So it actually has quite a lot of space. So in this front pocket is like essential things that I, as a human, need to carry. I have a heating pad. That's endometriosis / PCOS problems. I have multiple tampons. Endometriosis / PCOS problems. I have gas X.
Chronic illness, being a human problems.
I have chapstick. I have a little mirror from Hello Lovely.
Oh, cute.
Oh, it's so cute.
Love
it
that.
says good times guaranteed on it. I have a movie ticket for some reason.
What movie?
Top Gun Maverick.
There you go.
I have a snack.
Oh my God, I love chomps. What flavor is that?
A turkey. I got them because they were in your video.
I love that.
And I eat them all the time now.
Seriously, it's a great way to get protein, and they're
amazing. And I'm so glad I can eat them. I have like a glasses wipe thing.
Oh,
and this one is actually a Nikki Sloan one from
Is
Polycon.
it?
Yeah, I got it at Polycon. And I was like, hey, that's actually useful.
I know. That's brilliant.
Sloan on the side.
Oh my gosh. More of those from authors and book boxes, man.
I'm like, this is something that's actually useful that I'm going to keep in my purse all the time. So that's all that's in the first one. Then I have my wallet.
Cute.
Mints.
Altoids are amazing. Those are my favorite kind too. The other ones are too hot.
I agree. Very much so. I have a mask because pandemic.
Yeah.
I have a house key with a flashlight on it.
Is that your only keychain? Just the flashlight?
This is my keys. These are my keychains. And then I have this one says my name on it, and it says San Francisco because that's where I'm from. I was born in San Francisco. I have this one from Hello Lovely that says happily ever after or die trying.
I have that one.
And this one has a picture of me and my cat on it.
Oh, I love it.
This is my cat that passed away last October. So. And then my car keys.
I think who there was one person who had a book, and was it Lisa? Maybe I think one interviewee. But see, Victoria's purse is too small for a book, and also she listens to audiobooks.
I have my phone in my bag, and my phone has a million books on it. I have hand sanitizer
because pandemic and also hygiene.
Ibuprofen because chronic pain, and I have prescriptions because I have to take my prescriptions twice a day.
Those are cute little holders.
Thank you. And I wrote the prescription names and amounts on the top so that when I go to the doctors, I don't have to bring the bottle.
Oh, that's
and I can actually spell it and tell them what.
I love it.
That's all that's in my bag.
I love it. And I love that you had your bag right there. Okay, we're going to move on to bookish questions.
Ooh.
So your romance reading origin story, how did you start reading romance?
So when I was younger, and I'm talking like elementary school, I hated reading. I was like, reading is boring and I don't want to do it. But then when I got to about middle school, I was talking to a friend and I was like, and she's like, yeah, have you read this book? And I was like, reading is dumb. Why are you reading? Reading is boring. And she was like, no, this book's amazing. And I was like, I don't really think so. Because the only books that I had ever read were the books that they tell you to read for school.
I'm telling you, school can ruin it for kids.
Books that you're supposed to read for school are not good. And so the book that she handed me and told me, oh, you have to read this, was Hush Hush by Becca Fitzpatrick.
Really? I read that a million years ago. Yep.
I read it in 7th grade. And I was like, wow, if they told me to read this for school, I'd be interested.
Right.
And she was like, oh, let me give you a whole bunch. I read it in like one night, which is not something that had ever happened to me. And so I started reading all these other books that she was giving me. They were all like paranormal fantasy, romance, YA. So it was like werewolves, fallen angels, mermaids, a whole bunch of stuff like that. And then I read for ages. I had lots of reading. And I loved Cassandra Clare. She was one of the authors that I really loved. And so I didn't read when I went into college. I was like so busy in college. I never had time and everything. So when I was a second semester junior and I went abroad to Ireland, one of my friends in Ireland was like, hey, Cassandra Clare and this author, Holly Black, are going to be at a book tour in Dublin. I don't know if you've ever heard of them, but I want to go. Will you come with me? And I was like, sure. Sounds fun. I used to love Cassandra Clare when I was younger. And so I went with her, and I had never read a Holly Black book before. And so I read The Cruel Prince, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember loving reading. And I was like, this is so fun. And so when I got back from Ireland, I started reading a whole bunch again. And that's when I read ACOTAR. I read a whole ACOTAR series while I was in Ireland. And then my senior year of college, I was like, let's read. And so I started reading a whole bunch from there. And it was all, I discovered like adult romance. I was like, wow, books
all up here from
have sex.
Yeah.
I was like, this is all the parts that I liked of the fantasy books, but for adults.
Exactly. But even better. Christy, I would love to go out coffee with you. Seriously. So many, like anyone that I've talked to, a lot of people that I talk to in comments and stuff, I'm like, can we just hang out one day? That's why my kids wanted to read Twilight. I said yes, and then I managed to get them to read Dracula. There you go.
I read Dracula in college because one of my favorite classes that I took in college was called Vampires in Literature. Amazing.
That's the great thing about college, man. You have some awesome classes like
it was
that.
The Women's and Gender Studies class, and we talked about the Women's and Gender Studies implications of Dracula. We also read Twilight in the class. It was like it was the discussion of like vampires and how like vampires, a myth of vampires was created over time. It was amazing. We read all these different vampire books. It was so
That's really freaking cool. I love that.
One of my favorite classes.
Okay, so Lisa kind of changed this last time, and I liked how she changed it. So you can either answer or both. What would be your ideal in real life meet cute, or if you've had a meet cute that you want to share? No, okay.
I don't have a meet cute. I am alone
in this world. Listen, you don't have to have ended up with them.
I'm alone. This is really hard because I am not nice. And
nice.
If somebody, like, people will say, like, oh, the ideal meet cute is like somebody will like approach me reading in a coffee shop or something. If somebody approached me while I was reading in a coffee shop, I would be like, why are you disrupting me while I'm reading?
Do you not see what I'm doing?
Are you some kind of serial killer who goes and talks to random people? What's wrong with you?
Wait, so I would read this book all day long. The grumpy sun, or you'd be the grumpy. I think you need a sunshine who's persistent. I would read your book all day.
I am very much I relate to all of the grumpy heroines. It's really,
I love it. I'm telling you, I want to meet cute where someone goes up to you, asks you what you're reading. You're like, who talks to people?
I would be like, why are you disrupting me? I'm reading. Obviously, you can see that I came here to read. I'm reading. Why are you talking to me? Go away.
I love that.
So if I would need to be forced. So it would need to have to be some sort of like friend of a friend kind of situation. And the friend would have to be there to force me to sit there and talk to the person.
Like, I want your meet cute to be, you're reading in public. This like person comes up to you, asks you what you're reading, or starts talking to you. You get really mad at them, and then your friend comes up and be like, "Hey, I wanted to introduce you to my friend." You're like,
yeah, that's what it would have to be. That's what's gonna happen. Is I would be, if somebody approached me, even like I don't drink, so I don't know how to meet people because I don't like online dating. I don't like it. It makes me uncomfortable, and then I don't drink. So like all the people are like, oh, you meet people at bars. Like, I don't go to a bar with a bunch of drunk people when I'm the sober one. That sounds terrible.
You can just sit back and judge though.
So then if somebody approached me, I'd be like, you're drunk and annoying.
Right.
Leave me alone.
I love all of these situations for you.
Well, it's going to be impossible. I am alone and it's my fault.
Well, I am manifesting you a grumpy sunshine situation. Okay, using your favorite romance love interest, build your own love interest.
I don't need to build my own because there's already one that has all of the things, and that is Ren Bergman from the Bergman Brothers series. Yes. He has red hair, which I am obsessed with. Love red-haired. He plays hockey. Which means he's really tall. I'm very, very tall. Like people don't realize. And then I like met Jess and Tori in real life.
And you were like towering?
And they're like way down here on me. And I'm like, I'm gonna meet Tiffany in October, and Tiffany's
she's very small. I met her.
I'm like a foot taller than her. So it's gonna be, I need a tall guy. Ren's really tall. He plays hockey, but he's a cinnamon roll. So he doesn't like to fight people. So then he would also have all of his teeth, which is really good.
He's also uses Shakespearean insults instead of fighting.
He's absolutely adorable. He loves the Shakespearean thing. So he has that like creative side that I would love. And he's Swedish. So it would make my mom happy.
There you go.
It would be perfect.
No need to build your own. That's true. I think there's probably a divide. There's probably some people who are like, don't talk to me, I'm reading. And then other people who are like, please talk to me, let's talk about books. So that's fair. That is fair.
So Ren is perfect for me. I need Ren in real life.
One true pairing in books.
So obviously I have to put Reese and Freya. I mean,
of course.
Reese and Feyre, I can talk. Reese and Feyre have to be there because like, obviously. But then I'm also going to say Wes and Jamie from Him and Us by Serena Bowen and
Elton. Oh my God, yes.
Absolutely adorable, and I would murder somebody for them.
Epic friends to lovers too.
And then also Shane and Elia from Heated Rivalry by Rachel Reed. I don't know if
Did I read that one? It sounds familiar.
It's a hockey one also. Like hockey. So it's like enemies to friends to lovers. It takes place over years and years.
Ooh, I love that.
And they are great. They're rival hockey players, and they're like always been pitted against each other. Yes. So very, if you like Him and Us, I would also recommend. Very similar. So I've been to a Polycon. So I met a couple of authors there. I'm going to Love in Vegas in October, and I'm also going to Book Bonanza next year. So I'm going to see a whole bunch.
Covering it all. But I think like if you could narrow down like
there are a few that are not going to any of the book conventions that I'm going to that I absolutely need to meet at some point in my life. Sarah J. Maas being one of them. I will cry and like fall into a puddle. I need somebody to like 2 people to like hold me up so that I can actually like get words. I'll be like
the year I went to a Polycon, Sarah J. Maas was there. And her husband looks like Reese. Like he looks like a living, breathing Reese. And he's so cute because he was just like, because he was helping, he was like her assistant. And he just seemed like he was loving every second of all the attention she was getting. It was so cute.
Yeah. I love that so much. Yeah. I will be inconsolable if I ever meet Sarah J. Maas. Another one that's not going that she's not going to any book conventions because she lives in Australia. And that is Eden Finley. I love Eden Finley a lot. She writes romances and I like her books. Onley James also. And another one. Are there more?
Oh, you gotta find Monica there.
Absolutely. Message me and we can meet up. Yeah, there are a whole bunch.
All right. Favorite genre outside of romance?
Nothing.
Nothing else.
Categories I have a spreadsheet where I track all of my reading of my books this year, and the categories are romance and not romance.
I love it.
So I'm gonna go YA fantasy.
I was gonna say maybe it's YA fantasy
because that is the only other genre that I read. But if the YA fantasy doesn't have a romance in it, then I don't care.
Right. So same.
So fantasy is not, I mean, like romance is not like the main genre. So it's like YA fantasy, but it still has to have a romance in it for me to even consider it for reading.
I love it. Same. Last book you DNF'd and why?
The last book that I DNF'd was Say You Swear by Megan Brandy. And I DNF'd it because it was super boring and I didn't care about any of the characters. And it was for a reading vlog that I was doing.
Oh no. I hate when that happens.
The reading vlog was reading people's favorites of the year. It was very
Whose was it? Whose favorite?
People's. I asked on Instagram. I asked on Instagram for people's favorites of the year, and I chose books that had at least like 3 or 4 responses of like the same, like
so that. A lot of people liked them.
So many people love this book, and I got about 40% into it, and I was just like, I don't care. I don't like this. This is boring. No.
Oh no, I hate when that happens.
It's really awkward.
Been to a number of book conferences and they let me know it's meaning. Yeah, exactly.
A Polycon was my first actual like real book convention, and I wish like that I could do differently when I did it because I was just like so all over the place. I was like, oh my god, there's so many people here. There's so many things I want to see. I don't know what I'm doing. And so like I forgot to take pictures with some of the authors. I'm like, damn, I should have asked them. So like I've met authors and I'm like, I didn't. I like ran back to Sophie Lark to ask her. I was like, I can't leave here without a picture with Sophie Lark. So I literally forgot to take a picture with her and then ran back to her to the front of the line and went to Rye and was like, she already signed my books. I forgot to take a picture with her. Can I take a picture with her? And he like stopped the line to let me Sophie. It was great.
Oh, that's nice. Tell me about a fun How You Met Your Book story. The Hush Hush story was good.
I find a lot of my books just like randomly like scrolling or like recommended to me from like friends or YouTube. But first time that I have only read book 1 in the Throne of Glass series. I know.
Wow.
The first time that I ever knew about Throne of Glass was because my little brother was reading it. And he came into my room really late at night and he came over to me and he was like, I need you to read this book so I can talk about it with you.
I love it.
And so I was like, sure, whatever. And so I read it that in like a couple of hours. I literally sat there and just like read the entirety of Throne of Glass. And this was like years ago. This was like before the rest of the series had even come out. It was like only the first like 3 books were out at this point. And I read like the entire thing in like 2 hours and then was like, DJ, I finished. What are you talking about? And that was how I first read Throne of Glass.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
And then we stayed up for like the entire night
talking about it. Oh, I love that. I bond over my sister. I bond with my sisters over books too. I know a lot of them are far away from me too. I'm going to Shameless.
Love in Vegas is like entirely across. I live in New York.
That's true.
I live in Connecticut actually, but I like am gonna fly out of New York. So
what is a romance novel that is objectively really good that you didn't like?
I mean, I guess Say You Swear.
Oh, there you go.
Objectively good that I didn't like.
Like that you recognize this is a good book, but I just don't like it.
I don't know.
It's a hard question.
Really hard. I'm like looking at my shelves and then realizing like looking at my shelves won't help me because all the books that are on my shelf I like. Like that's not gonna help.
I know. That's not gonna help. Let me think I'm trying to think of some books that are popular.
I'm trying to think of a book that I didn't like. I'm like, what's a book that I didn't like? All the books that I don't like, I just like immediately like I'm just like I don't need you.
Out of brain.
There are books that I'm like that I'll read. I can't specifically think of like a specific title of one, but there will be ones that I read, usually new adult ones, where I'm like, I am not at the right point. I'm not the right audience for this book. Where I'm like, if I was like 5 years younger or more, I would like this more. I'll have like that kind of thing. Where it's a little immature for me.
Yeah. Same. But you recognize, like, you can see why people like it.
Yeah.
But it's just not for me.
Be like, if I had read this like 5 years ago, I would have loved this. But I now, as a adult-ish, I don't really care about.
Oh no, you didn't like it. I loved
Tattered Stars.
What's a book that most consider bad that you really like?
There will be like random like paranormal ones that I'll read that I'm like, these are kind of fun, where it's just like I recognize that like maybe it's not the absolute best, but I really had a great time reading it. So like one specifically recently that I very much still recommend is Broken Bonds by Jay Bree. Is that it is book 1 in the series. I can tell, and I literally, when I was recommending it on my channel, I gave like a full caveat. The writing in the book 1 is not good, but this book is great.
The writing's not good. The book is great. I love that.
Tell that her writing has gotten better like throughout the books. Like I've read now like 5 of the books in the series, and I can tell that her writing has like improved, but the writing in book 1 is not good.
I try when that happens, because that has happened to me where I'm like, this writing is terrible. The plot's not great, but why do I love this book? I like have to dissect it.
I really love the book.
Right.
It's great. The whole series is like really addicting and fun, but it's one of those ones where I'm like, take this with a grain of salt of this is a reverse harem, paranormal, fated mate style, starts off as a bully romance. Like you got to go in knowing what it is, and like, so I still really like it and would recommend it to the right people. But the writing in book 1 is not good.
It's one of those things where like you recommend it, and then when someone doesn't like it, you're like, that's fair.
Right here, this comment on the bottom. I agree that they are not great, but they are great.
Yes.
Yes. This one. Yep.
Yep.
They are great.
It's the potential.
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah. They're just really fun, and like I have a great time with them.
You're not the only one.
They're fantastic.
All right. Most taboo or dark book you've ever read?
Sicko by Amo Jones, maybe?
I haven't read that one yet. Yeah, but
or Sea of Ruin by Pam Godwin.
That one's pretty dark.
Probably.
But amazing.
Yes.
Talk about good writing.
Both of the ones that I really, really loved. Like I gave Sea of Ruin 4.5 stars, but only because of the one scene. And I think I gave Sicko the same. Like I really enjoyed both of them, but they were very dark.
Yes, not for the faint of heart. A few authors whose entire backlist you read.
Serena Bowen, Eden Finley, Mariana Zapata, except for I've almost read her whole backlist. I have not read Hands Down or the new one. No, I haven't read Hands Down because I needed a new one to come out before I could read it, so that I was not done. It's the whole thing. I'm so weird. Where I'm like, if I finish all of Mariana Zapata's backlists, then there will be none left for me to read.
I don't have that kind of self-control.
Where I'm like, I can't finish Hands Down because at the time it was the only one out. I was like, if I have read this, I have read all of Mariana Zapata's. What will I do now?
That's so much self-restraint. I cannot.
So now I can read either Hands Down or the other one.
I hope you like slow burns because those two are the slowest of all of her books.
Really?
The slowest burns, yes, in the most beautiful, amazing way, in my opinion.
I love Mariana Zapata. There are a lot of authors I've almost read their whole backlist.
But not quite, yeah.
Not quite. Yeah.
They're terrible boss.
I've almost read Devney Perry's entire backlist.
Oh.
Lauren Rowe is another one. I've almost read her entire backlist. I've got like 3 books left. I've got one series left. That's what it is. I have one.
Which series?
The Club one.
The Club series. That wasn't my favorite series, but it's still good.
I haven't read it because I heard it's the worst one, and I'm like, damn.
I loved the first book. I didn't like the rest of the series, but the first book I really, really liked.
That's the only Lauren Rowe ones that I've never read.
Most romantic book you've ever read, and of course, romance can be this can be defined in any way. It can be a personal thing. However you defined romantic. I don't know.
Maybe Never Seduce a Scot by Maya Banks. Have you read
that one's a good one. Yes, I have. That is very romantic.
Cute. That's a really, really cute one.
Historicals are a good place to go when you're thinking of a romantic book. Because there's like a fantastical element to it too that adds.
Yeah, I think that's what I would go with.
That's a good one.
That's what I would go with.
A romance that made you cry. And you said that books don't usually make you cry. Has there been one?
3 books in the entire history of my reading that I can remember have made me cry. Usually if a book makes me cry, it's because of like outside circumstances. So like it impacts me based off of something that happened like in my real life. So one of them is Riffs and Refrains by Devney Perry. And that book is the heroine's grandmother has just died and she has to go home for the funeral. And when I read it, it was either the week that my grandmother had died or like the week after my grandmother had died. So if my grandmother had literally either was dying or had just died when I read that book. And I was like full sobbing reading this book because it was just exactly what I was feeling was her description of her grandmother. So that one. And then there's one scene in an Amy Dawes book that made me cry. And it was Surrender.
I haven't read that one yet.
Okay, there's the last series of the Harris Brothers books. There's 2 books that follow Gareth, one of the Harris brothers, and it's like a duology that both follow Gareth. And the second one in that duology, I think, is the first is Dominate, and the second is Surrender. And in Surrender, it deals with Gareth was the one that remembered their mother the most. Their mother had died when he was young. He's the oldest child, and he has a lot of trauma from his mother dying. And his father did not deal with it well at all. Gareth took on a lot of that trauma, and they have this scene in Surrender where they have like multiple years later, they have like a funeral scene where they actually as adults get to like talk about their mother and how their mother's death like impacted them. It was so emotional for me because at the time when I was reading this, my dad had just gotten news that he had possibly had cancer, and so I was like, oh my god, I'm literally like, this is not. So it was so emotional.
I think that was the book my dad read by her and said that she writes about grief really well, because my dad has read her entire back.
Yeah. So that one is one. And then there's one scene, the third book that has made me cry, is The House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas. And it is, if you've read The House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas, it is My Friends Are With Me and I Am Not Afraid. That is the scene.
Oh, goosebumps.
And every time I read it, that's one of my favorite books ever. And I have read that book maybe like 6-7 times. And it's like a huge book.
Yeah, that's a feat.
Every time I read it, that one scene makes me cry. So.
Oh, I love that you found her through me. I
found her through you too.
Did you? Yay! Oh, I'm so excited. And Brenda too. And Megan Quinn. Megan Quinn was because of my dad. I found Megan Quinn from my dad because he loves her. All right. A romance that made you laugh out loud.
Lauren Rowe would be a good answer
for
that. The Brothers series. And then also usually Helena Hunting's.
Oh my gosh, yes. Mariana Zapata makes me laugh out loud too. Her internal dialogue is always great.
I'd probably go, and then also Eden Finley when she writes with Saxon James. Eden Finley and Saxon James have like series that they write together, and the two of them together write their characters so well, and it's hilarious because when they write, Eden writes one character and Saxon writes the other character, and it's so funny. They're so good together.
I need to read something by that author now. Okay, a book you used to love but reread recently and maybe it wasn't so good.
I reread a lot, but I usually reread books that like are absolute like favorites.
Right.
So, but there is one that I reread and lowered the rating, and it's like the only time I had ever done that. And not that I don't really like the book. I've moved it from 5 to 4 stars, so it was like not that. It wasn't like I realized it wasn't good. It was just like not 5 stars. And that was Dead Man Walking by Gianna Darling. It's Priest's book in that series. And I read it with the ebook. And I gave it 5 stars when I first read it. And then I listened to the audiobook when the audiobook came out, and I ended up lowering it to 4 stars. So I still really like it, but it was just not 5 stars.
Not as good as you originally thought.
Not as good as I remembered. There were like issues that I noticed more the second time that I didn't really notice the first time. But I still like it. So it was like, not that I realized it wasn't good, but just wasn't as 5 stars as I
I think it's more, for me, a book that I've reread and maybe thought it wasn't as good is more common than, I don't even know if there's one that I reread and didn't like anymore. So that makes sense to me. A romance character that you relate to the most.
I relate to the prickly heroines. So like the Nesta Archerons and the Fiona Griffins from Broken Vow, and Isabel Ward from Forbidden by Carla Sorensen. So always the like bitchy ones.
I love it.
That people don't like.
So people are like, I hated this character, and you're like, that's happened to me a couple of times. I've said I related so much to a character, and then I watch other videos and people are like, I hated this character. I'm like,
well, I guess we can't be friends anymore.
I know. All right, steamiest romance.
This is so hard because people will ask me for like my spice reading, and I'll be like, I can't tell you anything about the spice in this book. I know
this is very much like
spice, but I can't.
It's a personal thing too.
And I'm just like, I don't really like. That's not the scenes that I remember.
Same.
The like more romantic or like connective scenes are the emotional ones are the ones that I remember. So when I think of like books that are steamy, I'm the kind of person that thought that like season 2 of Bridgerton was more steamy than season 1, even though there was one sex scene in season 2, and like,
but I mean, it's how you define it. I mean, I think that Mariana Zapata books are super steamy, but there's usually only one sex scene.
Moments.
Yes,
I'm like, So that's what I consider to be like much more
like
sexy,
tension and
than like the actual. So I don't know. But I think that for an author that does like tension really well, I would go with maybe Sophie Lark, just because she does that like all her characters always have such strong emotional connections, while also having the like really interesting sex lives. So I think that
it does take really good talent to write good spicy books. It does, and I think it's underrated. Like when people are talking about literature and stuff, it's underrated to be able to write a really good steamy scene and not make it cheesy.
Absolutely.
Romance you've read the most?
Probably Blindsided by Amy Dawes.
I love that book.
That one I really, really, really love. I read that I think in 2020, beginning of 2021 or the end of 2020, and I've read it like a bunch of times. Like I said, I've read House of Earth and Blood like 6 times. That one a lot. I reread books a lot.
Me too.
I read Him and Us a lot of times. So
I need to reread those. It's been a while.
Those are probably top 3.
Okay, desert island romances. Would it be those 3 or would it be a different 3?
I think that I think I would do House of Earth and Blood because it's so long.
It's long.
It's good. And then I think I would do Blindsided because friends to lovers moments, And then I think that I would do like a little bit darker, maybe Stolen Air by Sophie Lark, just to like get some different like subgenre moments in there where it's like different feels.
That's smart. I like that. Yay! Oh, I'm so glad. I need to finish. Amy Dawes is someone who's backlist I definitely want to finish.
I've read her whole Harris Brothers series and her whole Wait With Me series.
Oh, okay. I see. I only read the first Wait With Me, and then I got partially through the Harris Brothers. Favorite romance subgenre? So paranormal, fantasy,
probably contemporary.
Contemporary, same.
Like I read the most.
Yeah, I mean it's a beast of a book, but it was good. Okay, favorite tropes?
Grumpy Sunshine.
Love Grumpy Sunshine, but you prefer when the heroine is the grumpy one?
Either one's fine. I like Grumpy Sunshine a lot, though.
Yeah, I love the dynamic in Grumpy Sunshine. Least favorite tropes?
Marriage in trouble.
Really? Why?
They're so emotional. It's so hard for me. I deal with angst. I don't deal with angst very well. And so it takes a lot out of me.
It's true.
Like I said, I'm like not like a very outwardly like emotional person. And so when I'm reading books that have like lots of emotions in them, I usually get very overwhelmed. So that's like why I've not continued with like Kendi Ryan or stuff like that, where I like love their books, but I feel like I've run like a whole ass marathon afterwards. So like angst is really hard for me. And so the tropes that tend to have like the most angst and like a lot of emotions are Second Chance and Marriage in Trouble. So.
Because I think part of it, and just thinking about it off the top of my head, I think the reason why, because I feel similar too, is that these are people who normally have like an amazing relationship or are very in love, but something really tragic happened or like some big thing happened, and it's heartbreaking to see love like that. Just
difficult.
That's true. That's a good point. Ideal page count?
300 to 350 ish.
Yeah, I feel like that's been. I think that's where most people land with them. And she was the first audiobook. Yeah, Amy Dawes has great audiobooks because she has full cast ones.
Amy Dawes listens to audiobooks. That's how she reads.
That's how
she always does duet narration and puts out the money for it, even though oftentimes she doesn't make the amount that she put into the audiobook on the actual sales of the audiobooks, but she puts that much effort into them because she listens to audiobooks.
You can always tell when an author appreciates audiobooks because they put that extra effort into it. And this is also why survival stories, I don't like survival stories because it gives me too much anxiety.
I get I have to be in an already emotionally or angsty mood to read an emotionally or angsty book, which is why when I was like really in my feels one of the days, I finally read Ever After Always by Chloe Leese. I had not read that. I read the entire rest of the series, but I was like really emotional one day and was like, now is the time to read an emotional one. What's the first one that I can think of?
And that one was and it had really good anxiety rep in that one. Series, duologies, anthologies, or standalones?
I like interconnected standalones. So I like series that follow families a lot.
Yes.
Brothers.
I like the subtle interconnected ones, like Mariana Zapata's books are subtly interconnected.
Yeah. I like families. You know, like the Eden series. You got the Harris brothers, Ward sisters, Morgan brothers. I like that kind of thing.
Yeah, and like teams too. I like when it follows teams if it's sports. Perfect amount of books in a series. And if it was an interconnected series, how many books?
If it's an interconnected, it can go on for as long as you can continue writing it. Like I know that Amy Dawes ended the Harris Brothers series, and I'm like, but there were those two other characters that you didn't write books for. I'm like, I would read those books. But if it's actually following the same couple, if it's paranormal or fantasy, 5 or 6. If it's contemporary, 1.
Don't do more than 1. I agree 100%. It's very rare.
I don't care about your contemporary. So like one series that I was talking to? Caitlin, I think, from the Love Librarian. Who I was talking to just read the like Off Balance series. There's like 5 books in that series, and they all follow the same couple. And I was just like, absolutely not.
Well, and the topic just keeps me out too of that one. That age gap is, and the power dynamic and stuff. Yeah,
there's a large age gap for that one.
Yeah. Favorite way to read books, audio, ebook, or physical? I think we know the answer to this, but
I read audio. I read 99% of my reading is done through audiobooks, and then I will read the occasional ebook. But I never read physical books.
So this question is harder to answer when you listen to audiobooks, but I guess if you're physically reading, where's your favorite place to read?
I read on my bed. I am the kind of person that can sit there and just listen to an audiobook.
Like you can just sit and not do anything?
I will do anything. I will write in a notebook with like planning content. I will do my like work. Things that don't do numbers. I can't do numbers and audiobooks at the same times, but even if it's words, I can do crossword puzzles and listen to audiobooks.
Really?
Play Sudoku and listen to audiobooks. I have like a app on my iPad where I like play hearts and I will listen to audiobooks.
I've been playing solitaire while listening to audiobooks before bed.
That's how I will literally sit there for hours playing games on my iPad and listening to audiobooks.
I love it. Do you like to eat or drink while you read?
Yeah, I usually have water next to me, just like a cup like this kind of thing. And then usually some sort of snack. But I will read audio. I listen to audiobooks until like I go to sleep, which is like 3 o'clock in the morning. So.
How many books do you read in a week on average?
5-ish, probably.
Favorite book you've read so far this year? I know it's hard.
That's so difficult.
It can be. How about recently? We'll change it to recently because as we're coming up in the end of the year, that's a really hard question. So
recently, one that is going to end up on my favorites of the year's list is Juniper Hill by Daphne Perry.
I need to read Daphne Perry.
It's book 2 in the Eden series, and it's a single mom, and he's a grump. It's great.
Oh, I love it. You know, that's more my problem when I'm physically reading. I fall asleep when I'm
physically reading. I'll just like get tired. And when I'm like reading an ebook, I'm like, there's so many words on this page.
So many words, and my eyes hurt. Do you have a favorite book of all time? No,
I have many.
That's understandable. That's why I made it a yes or no question for that reason. What was the last book to give you a book hangover?
The last book to give me a book hangover.
You just couldn't get it out of your brain. Nothing could match up to it.
I get book hangovers when I'll read a book in a series and it's like the last book that's out in the series and like the next book isn't out in the series yet. And so I'll be like, I want the next book. And I'll like not be able to read any other books because I'll be like, that's not the next book in the series. And that's the one I want. And so I did that recently with Shattered Sea by Catherine Cowles, where like I really wanted Shiloh's book afterwards.
Yes.
With what is the series that I'm thinking of? Juliet Cross's Stay a Spell series. I read Practice Safe Hex recently, and now I'm like, where's the rest of them?
Like, I hate when I read series that aren't finished. I'm like, because I'm so used to being, I'm a backlist reader. So usually I don't read things until they're completely out. So I did that. The last one for me was the Helena Hunting's series or Helena Hunting's.
Bittersweet Heart. You read Bittersweet.
Yes. I was so like, God damn it,
I watched your video and I was so excited that you liked Bittersweet Heart.
But I'm so like, because I was ready. I don't marathon series at all. I was ready to I was like, what's the next one? I was like, it's not out yet. This one just came out. No.
Yeah. BJ's book.
Yes. I just need it.
Okay. I think it's really cool.
Book to movie or book to TV show? Which do you prefer?
I don't like when my favorite books get turned into anything. I want them to stay as books.
Yeah. Like, don't ruin this.
But if I'm going to go with it, I'm going to go with movie because unless it's like a mini series. Because I find that with TV shows, they tend to like extend the TV show longer than they like have to add things and then they just screw it.
Change things. Yeah.
They just screw everything up. So I think movie, because like at least if you're cutting out things, you're like at least sticking to like the sort of to the original.
One would hope. Yes.
Yeah. So like people are like really excited for like the ACOTAR TV show to come out, and I'm nervous. Like, I want the ACOTAR TV show to get canceled.
I know, I'm like, don't ruin this. Like unless you're going to make it perfect, do not even.
There is no person on this earth that can correctly portray Azriel in my mind. You are going to screw up, and you are wrong.
Yeah.
Azriel is like ethereal being. Like you are not finding a human mortal to play this man.
It's true. This needs to be a very well animated.
I'm like, regardless of the actual plot of the freaking TV show, you already screwed it up.
Yeah, that's true. It's true. What are you currently reading?
I am currently reading book 5 in the Bonds That Tie series. I am 98% into it.
Wow.
So it's called Tragic Bonds by Jay Bree. And then the audiobook, I'm reading the ebook. I actually read the ebook.
Oh, wow.
The audiobook is not out yet. And I was like, you're taking too long. And then for audiobook, I recently went book shopping because my best friend from college came to visit. So we bought a whole lot of books. And I was in like a really October-y mood. And my best friend, she loves traditionally published like illustrated covers ones, which are not usually like my thing. But sometimes I'll be like, well, that looks cute because she's there. So they're not like ones that I would normally reach for, but because she's there, she's going to look at them. So I got this one. It's called When Life Gives You Vampires. And it's about and I just like the audiobook is like on Hoopla.
Oh, okay.
And so I was like, sure, I'll try it. And it's like a plus sized heroine. And this guy goes on a date with her and then accidentally bites her and turns her.
No.
He his like teeth like nicks her or something.
No.
And he like he turns her into a vampire. And so I thought it would be funny. And so I was just like, I need something like lighthearted yet also paranormally.
Are you enjoying it? Do you like it?
I just started, so I'm literally on chapter 1, but it seems fun so far.
I love that premise. That's great.
So
my husband would agree. He thinks it was really good.
I saw Lord of the Rings movie for the first time when I was 4 years old.
Oh, really? Oh my God, I remember when it came out.
I was 4 years old.
Handmaid's Tale is way better than the book. Yes, I feel like that happened with Vampire Diaries because the books got ridiculous. Like after like the second or third book, they got ridiculous, but the TV show did.
The Percy Jackson movie was trash, but the Percy Jackson Disney Plus TV show, I have hope for. It hasn't come out yet, but they did the trailer, like teaser trailer recently. And all of the words that he says in the teaser trailer are on the first page of the first book.
Oh my gosh, really?
Like it's like direct quotes from the first page of the book. And I'm like, maybe it'll actually be good.
Me too. Made me feel old too. Like my brother's friend rented out an entire theater when Lord of the Rings came out. And that's when I saw it. And I was old enough. I think I may have been in college.
Was a youngin'.
Yes. What book are you planning on reading next?
The When Life Gives You Vampires, because I'm on chapter 1.
Right. So that is your next read. Do you have a romance hot take, or what is one of them if you do? Unpopular opinion.
I don't think I have any unpopular opinions. Or any unpopular opinions that haven't already like been shared by other people. So they're like not that unpopular. Spice scales are stupid.
Okay, there you go.
I think.
Well, I mean, it's true.
Think it's very subjective, and that sharing a spice scale is because people. I think it is entirely based on your socialization and what you consider to be taboo and what you don't consider to be taboo. And
what you've read previously, I think probably plays into it too.
And so if you have come from a place where you have not been exposed to imagery of sex or anything like that, any sort of small sex scene is going to seem steamy to you. But if you have been exposed in a family where it's been openly discussed, then somebody saying the word sex is not taboo at all. It's just a normal topic. And so
although I guess one could argue star ratings in general are the same way. So
star ratings to me is more of an opinion. Whereas people take spice scales like fact.
Like a rating, like a PG-13 kind of thing. That's true. That's fair.
So star ratings are very much your opinion. Whereas I feel like spice scales, people are like, what's the spice scale for this? I'm just like, there isn't one. It's whatever you consider to be spicy, because what you consider to be spicy and what I consider to be spicy will be entirely different.
Right. Yeah, that's very true. Top 3 love interests.
Well, we'll have to go Ren from the Bergmans. And then I think I will go. Oh gosh.
Asriel?
No. Asriel is like, I can't be with him. He's just so perfect. I think that I'm going to throw a wild card and I'm going to go Reed Rivers from the Reed Rivers.
Oh my God, Reed. Stop. I almost forgot about Reed. Wait, you're making me want to reread this book.
And then I think for the third one, I'm going to go with Knox Eden from Juniper Hill.
So cool. All right. If you've watched the interviews, you know the next question. Screw, marry, kill. So we have Ren, we have Reed, and we have Knox.
Okay. I think.
Is this why you didn't add Asriel? Because you didn't.
No, I really can't be with Asriel. Like, I don't think that I'm good enough for Asriel. I think that he is perfect and that he should just be perfect. I think that I would have to marry Ren because he's perfect.
Yeah,
and like I said before, he's perfect and he'll be
like Reed.
Because I think I need to screw Reed. I think that I need to experience that.
Yeah.
And that would be perfect. So I guess I'm killing Knox. See, the thing is, the problem is Knox is a chef And he works at a restaurant, and the restaurant has like a set menu, and like I can't eat any of the things on the menu, so maybe it will just be really difficult to like have to watch him make food.
But like, if he's a chef, he can make you meals in your diet. But also
I would
read
have
and
to like go to his work and then like see things on the menu that I like can't eat. Like he talks so much about mac and cheese in that book, and I can't eat.
Oh yeah, you're like, you're dead.
I'm like, I can't with you because I can't eat mac and cheese.
Derek Craven is one that I know a lot of people love.
I have never read Dreaming of You.
Oh, you haven't?
There are some like big historical ones that I've just like never read that I really, really should. That people are always like,
I know there are so many. There are so many for me, but that's mostly because I don't read a lot of historical romance. So, but I did happen to read that one. All right, Victoria, thank you for hanging out with me, and thank you for everyone who is here hanging out in the comments. You would I know. Who wouldn't marry Ren Bergman? Honestly, the only reason why I was hesitant between Reed and Ren, because I like a grump, and I like he's a grumpy hero with a heart, and the type of hero that thinks that he's a bad guy, but really he's a really good guy. And I love that. But also I don't know.
He has a bitchy attitude and I have a bitchy attitude, and I just feel like that would be
too much clashing for long term.
But his heroine is really like very fiery also. So,
that's
like,
true. She evens him out.
Like that, I don't know. But I think that he would be very fun.
Yes, he would be fun. He seems, I mean, he's got, what do they call it in the Morgan Brothers series? The sure thing or something.
The sure thing. Yeah.
I mean, that's fair for that alone.
Yes, it'll be perfect. I'll have a fun time, and then I can go home to my virgin husband.
And with that, my friends, we're going to end it here. Thank you guys for hanging out. Thank you, Victoria, for joining me. I believe, of course. So Victoria's information is all down below. And I believe next week I will be interviewing Izzy from Happy for Now. So stay tuned for all of that information. Thank you, guys.